Hey, what's up guys? Paul from Paul's Cards here. Just another video about this billet head. So I've got it all torn down. Still got to pull the spark plug out, but got the valves out finally. Talk about a fight. The one valve that was stuffed in there sideways, the exhaust valve, the face was broken off. When I took that out, went completely flying across the shop. God only knows where it is. But this is the stem to that. I literally had to use an air chisel with a flat end just to get this out. Thing was like welded in there, but it was extremely tight because it was bent in the guide. You could see the guide is cracked on the side from and you can see when you look down in there, the guide was cracked in half. First thought was that it probably suffered from valve float. A couple of people had bounced around the idea about it might have overheated. At first, couldn't really tell until I pulled the valves out. So I pulled the valves out. This was the point of failure. So when I look at this stem in this area, it looks clean. Looks just like the top. No real galling, no balls or anything like that on it. So I'm thinking that it suffered from valve float. That's what I think the failure was. I don't think it seized. It's pretty hard to seize a bronze guide. Again, on methanol. Full story. Methanol engine, so they run pretty cold. Bronze guides, titanium valves. Shouldn't have had a problem with seizing if it had been running for a while. It's not like a new build where it was just set up tight and it just failed right away. The client had been running this for I think years, so I'm sure the guide clearance was right or it would have failed sooner. So what I think happened is the springs went bad. The intake valve also took a hit. I've never even seen a spring bent, but as you can see, that spring there is the same bend as the valve, which is crazy. This other retainer is broken. Titanium, probably a titanium retainer, broken. Yeah, it's titanium. You can see the nice little crack in there, right down in there. So what probably happened was the springs probably just got old, or here's another thing. So I'm tearing the head down. Titanium valves, they should have copper beryllium seats. Why these seats aren't copper beryllium, I don't know. They're just standard seats. It was probably built for regular stainless valves maybe, but those should be like a copper beryllium. Which, the reason you can only run titanium with copper beryllium is because titanium valves are kind of soft, and the copper seat acts as like a shock absorber. If not, it'll kind of bounce. So that's another thing. That's why I think it, not even because of that, but I know by looking at the valve stem, it suffered from valve float. You just turn them hard, eventually you might float a valve. Now with these billet heads, they're flat, not a wedge like the Gx390. And I saw some pictures of the bottom end. Just running that standard GX 420 bottom end with the valve that, with the piston that just has that cantered valve angle, which probably isn't necessary at all. Being as though I think that's cut out on those pistons. I think that the biggest valve you can actually fit down into that valve relief on the piston is a 40 millimeter. So 45, 35 is the valve setup. So these couldn't even fit into that, into the cutout in that piston. So those valve reliefs weren't really functioning. And then, I look at the valve further, and if you look at the profile on the 45, you can see it's literally like caved in. And that's just because the seats are the wrong seats. If that was a copper beryllium seat, They would have shared that load, and you know, it would have been a lot better off. So my task is to now get this spark plug out. I'll probably leave the guides in for right now. I'll probably pull one of the guides out, maybe. I'm not sure exactly on the step 4, but pull this spark plug out, get the seats out of there, and you know, clear all this out with the grinder, and then weld it up. It does have damage down in the ports, the port wall, that shock from that spring going, the valve face getting stuff down there, so it did kind of mangle even down into the ports on the exhaust side. It can't be fixed with epoxy since it's on the exhaust side. I did feel the porting on the intake side. It feels a little over ported. You know, that's the thing, you know, people get these big valves and this big port and they would just want more and more and more. It feels a little over ported, like it has a belly underneath the seat. But you know, it could work. I'm sure it flows amazing numbers. 45 millimeter valve. Yeah, look at that shot. If that ain't a nice shot. But you know, so pretty cool having a billet head in the shop. Different change of pace, but I just know it's gonna be a long road forward. I've already, you know, just getting the valve train out, and that was a mission. You know, if you got to use a, you know, I fought with it for about an hour, and then finally just, you know, banging on with a hammer, you know, with that broken retainer, it kept flexing and didn't want to let the keepers go. So I kind of had to hold the keepers down in place with a very, very small thin walled socket, and then bang the retainer down. So it was pretty tough, but I got it off, and then you know, that exhaust valve did not want to come out at all, and it had the face of the valve in there. So I just took a punch, came into the port, knocked the seat out, knocked the stem of the face of the valve out, and then worked on that stem. Couldn't get it out really, so I had to use like a air chisel and bang it through. But so I'll keep you guys posted. Pretty cool for me. You know, I like making new videos, so I'll keep you guys posted and let you know during the steps and the process that I'm going through to get this thing fixed, in case you guys get in a situation like that. Sometimes you just don't know who to call. You know, I build these. I build chambers all the time, so I just create a chamber from nothing. So you know, some people might look at this and say, "Wow, that thing is destroyed. It's unfixable," but it's definitely fixable. We're gonna fix it. Come along for the ride. Paul's from Paul's Carts here. Hope you guys having a little fun watching these videos during this whole outbreak and everything like that. So yeah, that's about it. Come back with some more information. Paul from Paul's Carts. Have a nice day.